it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about all of the Disney Plus news. We're also going to be talking about some of the other kind of Disney things that kind of interconnect with that. So we're going to be talking about Marvel Studios returning to San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to be talking about the brand new movie that they've announced called Soul. And also the sort of feature topic for today will be about how there was an interview about the Disney Plus app not being for kids, and we're going to be answering some of your questions as well. So let's jump into it before we do any of that and ask James and myself, what have we been watching? James, what have you been doing this past week?
Jessica Jones. I've been watching Jessica Jones season 3. I'll spare any comments on and thoughts on it for the moment, but that's what I've been doing for the most part. Also, getting caught up on some movies, but nothing Disney, so I'm not gonna worry about them.
I have done I saw the first episode of Jessica Jones season 3, but I did. That's kind of. I'll just kind of slowly work my way through them. I'm kind of going to stretch them out probably, because we tend to watch them, but it's good. Hopefully, it just doesn't turn out like the other TV series where I kind of started them and then eventually just drifted off a little bit. I did finish off all of Cloak and Dagger, so I did like about 3 episodes of that last week and just kind of cleared them all out the way. That was a really weird. Did you watch Cloak and Dagger the last season?
I've seen the first 2 episodes. I saw them when they came out, but I have not seen anything past that. And I think I'm probably going to load them up on my tablet to watch on my trip, because I don't know, there's 9 or 10 episodes, and I've got a lot of flights coming up, so I think that'll be good watching material. I was gonna do either Jessica Jones or The Punisher, but if you end up next to a kid or somebody's a little more squeamish, those might not be shows that you want them peeking over your shoulder on.
I think you'll be all right. I think I
think I'll be fine, but
I
still, try to be courteous to the neighbors.
I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed with Cloak and Dagger season 2. I didn't really like the villain at all. I didn't like the way they did it at the end, but I'm not going to go into spoilers too much on that one. But yeah, it was a little bit of a miss for me. It didn't quite feel like that series really carried on where it should have done. But nevertheless, I also watched Dumbo, the new live-action version, this past week. Disney sent me a copy of the Blu-ray to review for Disney Kingdom, so that'll be going up over the weekend. And to be honest, me and my wife, we watched it, and both of us were pleasantly surprised. We both enjoyed it. It definitely pulled a little bit on the heartstrings. It was a lot better than I was expecting. Very much different than maybe where I thought it was going to go. It wasn't. While it was a remake, it definitely felt a little bit more different. Did you get around to seeing Dumbo yet, or are you holding on for it?
I haven't seen it yet. It's probably something I'll see when Disney Plus comes out. That's at this point. There's a number of movies where I'm like, I want to see it, but I don't want to go out of my way to see it. Again, number of flights coming up. There's a good chance that it might be one of the in-flight entertainment movies on the longer trips. If it's on there, there's a decent chance that I will watch that on a flight. So
that's with international flights. You got plenty of time to watch.
I always joke with my mom, because she for work has to go on international flights a lot. She's going back and forth between France and England and America, and every time she has a flight, we'll speak for a little while after and be like, okay, so what movies have you gotten caught up on? And that's how she does it.
It's definitely that kind of cool thing. So, Dumbo, better than I was expecting. Yes. Was it necessary? No. Was it completely original? No. It definitely felt the different out of the live action ones. It wasn't that kind of straight up scene for scene. They changed a lot about it. It was kind of cool little Easter eggs and stuff where they were nodding it, but it definitely felt very different. I think it's going to be a big hit on Disney Plus, because I think a lot of people have done probably what we've done. Because I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have. I wasn't even going to buy it. I was just going to hold out for Disney Plus, because I think it's going to be available on launch. And this will be the thing of when the movies come out on Disney Plus. We'll probably talk about them again, because that will be kind of like the big feature of basically the month. Probably will be those big Disney movies. But I did watch it. I did enjoy it. And I definitely recommend, especially when it comes on Disney Plus. I think it'll be like thinking, yeah, jump in. And this was that funny thing of there was another movie I watched this week, and I kind of wanted to touch on this. Was the new Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler movie, I think Murder Mystery or something like that, on Netflix. And they put out this like big tweet about, well, 30 million accounts watched it, so therefore if every one of them went to cinema, it was like a $200 million opening weekend, their biggest opening weekend ever. And it's like, people are going, no, that's not how, you can't really do that. And I was thinking, you know, with Disney and all the rest of it, you know, they like those big opening weekends. It's like Netflix trying to jump in on that and going, no, the difference is sitting at home with your feet up and going, oh, that's new, I'll click that. Then getting out, going to the cinema, paying for it. I wouldn't have gone to the cinema to see that movie. I would have waited till it was on Netflix. It's like, right. I just thought that was a really weird thing for them to say.
Well, but of course they have to put a positive spin on it. They are shareholders and everything like that. And I mean, technically it's true. It's a statement that you can say, yes, if everybody had watched it and gone to the theaters, it would have made a ton of money. But yeah, logically, when you think about it, those people, a lot of those people would not have. Some would have, and some wouldn't have. The convenience factor, which we talk about constantly on here, makes a huge difference. And I think, you know, when we see stuff like Lady and the Tramp coming out with the Disney Plus launcher very shortly after, I can't remember exactly when. I think it is on launch. Yeah. But I suspect that that will be one of the movies that will do fairly well on the Disney Plus launch, because it is new content, and it wouldn't necessarily do that well in theaters because you have to take the effort, you have to spend the money, make the time, all that. And Disney Plus is just sitting, well, will be just sitting here on the television like Netflix is now.
And I think, you know, this is that kind of thing of like, you know, we watched a movie and it was perfectly fine. I mean, it was that kind of thing of, as people were calling it, the perfect movie to watch while you got a tablet or an iPhone on, because you don't really have to watch it, but you get all the jokes. I tend to find Adam Sandler movies fine, you know, they're not amazing. But there was also this other big thing, there was articles this week about how comedy movies have lost at the box office. People aren't going to watch comedy at the cinema. They're just, you know, unless it's a big blockbuster, they're just not going. The numbers are down. A lot of them are just being sold straight to Netflix, etc. You know, we've got Disney. Have got this new movie, Noelle, which is I think that's going to be like a comedy with Anna Kendrick playing Santa's daughter. That's going to be coming out around about Christmas time. That's the kind of thing of people aren't going out to see like rom-coms and comedies in the same way that they used to, and nothing's really hitting through. I think there's a few reasons for that. I generally think at the minute comedy is maybe not quite as funny as it used to be, because everything's probably gone a little bit too PC, but that's my opinion on why I don't think comedy's hitting that same stretch that it used to. And also money. You know, do you want to go watch something like Endgame, or do you want to go watch a movie which, in all honesty, we've got a 50, 60-inch television set at home. It's big enough for a comedy like that. You don't need to go see, you know, that Murder Mystery Weekend or Noelle at the cinema, because your TV screen's big enough and you don't need it.
I think that last point is really the big one. If I'm going to go to the theaters these days, it's going to be for a spectacle. You know, Avengers Endgame, Star Wars Episode 9, something with big special effects where you really want that full surround sound, you know, the picture and taking up your entire view, that kind of thing. But if I'm going to watch a romantic comedy or a regular comedy or a drama, generally don't need it. You know, you don't get a different experience at home that you do at the theater. So I'm just going to wait for at home. Also, comedies in general, it's harder to view them in public. Sometimes it works out better because you get in with the crowd, and things that wouldn't necessarily be funny by themselves do become funny when everyone else around you is laughing. You kind of build into it. But I don't know. I find comedies more of a at home by myself or with close friends kind of deal. And that's as far as I'm willing to go with most comedies.
I'm just glad that with most cinema movies, they don't do the canned laughter, because I think that would definitely be,
that's awful.
When you watch TV shows and they're laughing, going, no, that wasn't funny, you just walked in the room.
Looking at your Big Bang Theory. What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that kind of thing of, I do think there's a number of issues, but I thought that was quite an interesting thing. And I think Disney Plus is going to tap into that, because Disney have kind of stopped making the kind of low budget movies, because I think it was that thing of they weren't maybe hitting where they wanted at the box office for the amount of advertising and stuff, because they're spending a lot of money on advertising. And this is where I think they're very much I'm impressed with Disney Plus, of that idea of they can go back to making those those live action movies that are a lot cheaper to make, but they will have a much better run with streaming. And we've been finding this with Amazon. I mean, I just know between Amazon Prime and Netflix, the amount of live action movies that I watched that if it was for renting them or buying them, just wouldn't, or going to cinema, I just wouldn't do it. But because they're there in it, I watch them, and that's what ultimately what they want. They want you to watch them and watch stuff.
Yeah, it brings back the impulse watch, which goes back to what we said it multiple times, so we're kind of broken record on that. But it's that going to the theater, going to the movies requires effort. Being on your couch does not.
No,
so.
No, that's a big difference.
I think we need to promise our viewers we won't be hammering that too much in the future, because I'm sure they're getting a little tired of hearing it.
It's just going to be one of those things. Okay, so let's move now on to the news. So the big news really of this week, because it was a bit of an odd one. It was a little bit of a light news week, but there was probably one major story that kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. Disney and Pixar announced a brand new movie, which is going to be coming out next June, called Soul. I'm going to bring up a little bit of information to read out to you. It's going to be coming out on June the 19th, 2020. It is being directed by Pete Docter, who did Up and also Inside Out, and it's being produced by Dana Murray, who did the Lou short. So this one here, this is the official description. Ever wondered where your passion, your dreams, and your interests come from? What is it that makes you, you? In 2020, Pixar takes you on a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answers to life's most important questions. That's kind of, I mean, a lot of people kind of pulling a like Inside Out kind of vibe from that. I think it's going to be very different to that. I think it'll be a very different movie, but I'm loving the fact that we have got 2 Pixar movies next year, both of which are original, both of which are not franchises. They are not anything, just sequels, and that's good. I was really just surprised at this random announcement. I was surprised they didn't hold on to this for D23. They might give us a teaser trailer then. I would imagine probably would do, but yeah, it definitely kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, big surprise, but a happy surprise. And speaking to the franchises, we know that Pixar has recently stated they don't want to continue with franchise movies for the most part, because we kind of got inundated with them recently. Incredibles 2, Finding Dory, Toy Story 4. So I'm glad to see them following up on that.
I think as well as I think I wouldn't have minded one. I think it was just that kind of influx of multiples.
It all hit at the same time, and I don't think most people have any problem with them occasionally coming back to old things. It's just that starting with Monsters University and then moving on to Finding Dory, and Cars 3, Incredibles 2. It definitely felt like they were going the old Disney route of let's just keep mining the same stuff. So that has nothing to do with this actual short, but I am glad to see that they're putting their money where their mouth is on that particular point.
Yeah, it's really that kind of thing. We don't really know too much about it. I'm just really glad that next year we've got 2 Pixar movies, completely different, completely unique, and it's kind of what we need, because Disney, especially with Disney Plus, have been very much hitting on that nostalgia reboot territory. So having some fresh original ideas, it might also be freeing them up to feel like, we need to push the boundaries a little bit, because franchise fatigue is there. You can only just ask some of the movies like Men in Black and some of the other ones, and X-Men recently. They don't do quite as well just slapping an old name on a sequel, just because it doesn't work the same way that it used to.
No, and people have started to kind of be more wise to these strategies as well. It's not even just fatigue; it's just straight up give us something that's a little bit different. And even spin-offs like, say, Bumblebee for the Transformers last year. I think it did fine at the box office, but it didn't do the numbers that these companies want to have happen. So yeah, original. Bring on the original stories, and of course, Pixar is in a position to do it. They've been in a position to do it because, despite what we've seen, Incredibles and so on, they're not a franchise company. The company itself is the franchise. Pixar has such a reputation that simply slapping Pixar on the cover and saying this is by the guys who did Toy Story and Up and Inside Out and made you cry in the first 5 minutes of like half the movies, carries the weight by itself. So they can do anything they want.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting what they do with Toy Story 4, which is out obviously this weekend. Haven't quite got, obviously only came out like yesterday for me, so I haven't got around to watching it yet. It's that kind of thing of, like I said, they've got to watch what they're doing. The other interesting thing that I was, as a side note, was there's apparently no short with Toy Story 4. It's the first Pixar movie, I think, without a short. And a lot of that has been kind of maybe pushed to the idea that they're using all the shorts for Disney Plus. Obviously, they got that Spark Shorts idea, but the idea that maybe they don't quite need to do it anymore. They can keep that back as its own special thing. And yeah, it was a nice. I always loved them. I always think it's a great idea, and I think, but they may be looking at actually they're worth more to us as an advertising campaign than as a just slap it on the front of a movie.
Yeah, and I've always looked forward to them too, but the last couple of them haven't been nearly as memorable as some of the older ones. So I'm not too sad to see them go away. And I do think that there's more value in having them as Disney Plus. Now, I wouldn't have minded if they'd thrown one of the Spark Shorts up there, though, maybe Kidder Bowl. That would have been a really good one because I think it hit pretty well. Honestly, what I miss most from Pixar, and they haven't done this in a very long time, was the outtakes at the end. I loved those outtakes, and I was very sad when they stopped doing those. Not that I'm expecting them to start doing them again, but yeah, I'd want those back before I want the shorts. But that's also with the knowledge that the shorts aren't going away; they're just moving to another medium.
So let's now move into kind of event territory, because there's two big events taking place this summer. You got the D23 Expo taking place in Anaheim, California in August, and then you've also got the San Diego Comic-Con event taking place in July. And we kind of assumed most people assumed that Marvel would be skipping San Diego Comic-Con because they'd be bringing all their big guns to the D23 Expo. Looks like that's not the case. It's been reported by a number of different major outlets that Marvel Studios are in fact going to be having a presentation at Hall H, and they are going to be kind of laying out the Phase 4 of the Marvel movies. And looking at what D23 have already announced in terms of their schedule, they are doing a presentation where they're going to be showing off Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, all the different bits and pieces. I'm more thinking now that maybe they're thinking, let's get all the Marvel stuff out in July because we'll have that whole weekend for the press. Warner Brothers aren't going to be there making any announcements, so therefore they've got the whole weekend free to do what they want, and it will get all the major attention from that week. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And it might be as well, it will overshadow the news coming out at the D23 Expo, if there's anything that comes out of there, any trailers, because they want that continuous beat. But it's kind of definitely interesting to see them coming back. We'll hopefully get confirmation of all those untitled Marvel movies, find out maybe what's happening with those X-Men characters, finding out about other movies like The Eternals and was it
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. So things like that and Black Widow will be officially kind of revealed. But this was, I think, a good move by Disney, I think.
Yeah, I was actually always surprised that people thought they were going to skip San Diego, because it doesn't make sense for Disney to keep all of the announcements within Disney specific events. The investor call earlier, D23 coming up. It's great for Disney fans, and it will definitely make a splash at D23. But the Disney fans, the people at D23, are probably already completely invested in these properties. They're invested in Disney Plus. They're invested in, Marvel Phase 4 and 5 and on. And they need to get this in front of the people who aren't already invested in it, or who aren't invested in the Disney ecosphere. And they need to get that in front of there. So it makes a lot more sense to me to have this at San Diego, where Disney people are going to be paying attention, obviously, because they know the Marvel stuff's coming out then. But now all the people who would not be paying attention to D23 news, they of course run the risk of having it kind of sucked into the maelstrom of all the news of the weekend. But I think we can safely assume that with the success of Marvel's phases 1, 2, and 3, they will at least get a significant amount of media attention simply just by announcing the titles of what's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally going to be like literally logos. Well, that's all we're going to see. We're going to see logos. They skipped last year, and I think the big reason for that was Endgame, was because essentially they didn't want to do a lot of discussion about Endgame full stop, you know. And you think of it, I mean, we had last July, we only then had Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man Far From Home. And I don't know if they maybe felt like they wanted to push Captain Marvel too much at the event because it was still quite a way off. And Spider-Man was a Sony movie. It just feels a little bit like they skipped last year at the San Diego Comic-Con. This year, I would totally be surprised if we just get a load of announcements. Maybe we've only got Far From Home this year. That's the only one left, isn't it? So they've got a long time to go. I'm not expecting any trailers or anything like that. Just literally some reveals, maybe even some footage from Black Widow or something like that, or whatever else they've got. But I imagine that's about it.
I think if they have footage, it's more likely going to be something on the Disney Plus stuff, and even then, it won't be in depth. You know.
The only trouble is like that is I think they've only literally started filming Winter Soldier. Right. Loki hasn't started. Nothing else has started. So I don't think they've even got any. I mean, there is a Disney Plus presentation at the D23 Expo as well on one of the days. So that's I was thinking
more along the lines of like a slightly more detailed logo reveal. It might have, say, Tom Hiddleston in the Loki outfit. You know, that we've seen some stills from it. Something like that, and then it fades to the Loki coming to Disney Plus 2020 or something like that. And that, but not a trailer. We're not going to get a trailer. As you said, they only just started filming. They're not going to be able to turn one around in time. But something a little bit more than 2020. We will have movies 1, 2, 3. 2021 movies 1 and 2. It'll be a half a step above that is what I'm expecting. Yeah. So that's definitely going to be interesting. That's definitely peaked now. The idea that we're going to get, I'm quite liking the fact now that we've got some proper bits, pieces coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, because we get a lot of merchandise news coming out of it. It'll be great to kind of get some movie news coming out of it. Sliding into that on there, D23, they also announced a load of details for the Disney Channel. They are going to be there in full force. They are going to be having meet and greets there. There's going to be Q&A sessions. There's going to be a number of different shows representative. You're going to have Raven's Home. You're going to have Just Roll With It. You're going to have some of the legends. But Muppets, Kermit will be there. You're going to have Big Hero 6, Bunked. There's just literally a whole stream. So there'll be different character appearances, a few panels, not as many panels maybe as some of the Disney Channel people would like, but lots of bits and pieces. Great to see the Disney Channel kind of there. They're definitely using that as a launching point. This month is a big month really for Disney Channel. They're putting loads of new movies, new TV series and episodes up. They're kind of dropping them. They're kind of going in that line of like daily. There's literally just new stuff going on the Disney Channel every day. Essentially getting it all out there for all the kids to consume over the summer period while they break up. And obviously with Disney Now app, it just seems to make a lot more sense. I think they've definitely been finding success with the idea of put a load of it out there in the summer and let's let everyone just suck it all. Because kids are watching TV so differently than we did when we were kids. Yeah, I don't think kids could even conceive of how we used to watch TV anymore. And it's not even like the schedule, because even if you do a weekly release on Disney Plus or Netflix or Hulu, it's not the same as when we were growing up, where if you didn't get home at 4:30 or whenever, you stayed late at school to finish up a project, you missed whatever show that was, and you had to hope that there was a rerun of whatever episode it was. Maybe you called ahead to your parents and they actually picked up, because no cell phones. and they VCR'd it for you. They saved it on a VHS, but that was then. And even remembering to put it on TiVo or something like that is completely different now, because Netflix, it's like, oh, you weren't up at 1 o'clock in the morning when they posted the video. Oh, well, that's fine. It's right there. You can watch it this weekend. You don't have to watch it right now. I
do remember having my cassettes with my name written on it. That was Rogers tape, and you used to set the recorder for Saturday mornings to and you have to speed through all the chat with all the presenters until you got to the things. And because I started work quite young anyway, working out with my parents, but I was lucky enough to spend my money on a second-hand video machine, because that was, all I wanted was a video machine. So I have my own, and the app used to record, set it to record the entire 3 hours of the Saturday morning cartoons, so I could literally fast forward to the ones I wanted, because that was the thing. If you didn't do that, you missed it. There was no reruns. There was no. You never knew that new episode of the Spider-Man or the Batman cartoons. You wouldn't know. And they would say 10:25 it started. If it started at 10:40, that was just what they did. If they were too busy messing about with slime, that was just today's day. You just missed it. Or if it started early, that was it. They didn't really care. If you didn't want to watch it, what kids now get, it's like my little nephew walks in and goes, Paw Patrol or something like that. Yeah, but there you go. It's like, it's quite strange, but it makes sense for the Disney Channel just to be able to, I would say, they essentially dump a load of their content in the summer while a lot of kids are off, and just, I expect the Disney Now app is where they're really kind of picking a lot of this stuff up.
Right. I actually wanted to make one more point on that too, is that even back in the day, it wasn't just how we watched them was different. The shows themselves were different, because they couldn't expect us to see every episode. They had to make every episode kind of self-contained. We had the Monster of the Week. Nowadays, even kids shows, even little kid shows follow storylines over multiple episodes, and that would be unheard of when we were in like elementary school or primary school.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely funny, because there was a little bit of a discussion going on the Disney Plus Facebook group that we run about the Disney Channel being a premium channel for a number of years. And over here in the UK, it was a premium channel till about 13 or so years ago. It's like you had to have the big Sky Movies package to get it, and parents couldn't afford it. So and also the Disney Channel, I've said before, didn't launch here till like 1995. I was already a teenager. I'd missed that, that the thing of sitting down and watching Disney original movies or the rest of it, that didn't exist, because Saturday morning cartoons is where, even now, like usually on a Sunday morning, I turn the television on, I get Avengers, and last week I was watching Milo's Law, and it was that kind of thing. Before going to work, I just had cartoons on, and it was like, that was kind of how it was all the time, and it was kind of just quite funny sitting there at the last like 4 or 5 weeks on a Sunday morning, just watching Disney cartoons on ITV. It's just like, and I said this the other day, and my parents were like, yeah, you did that when you were 10. You're still doing it now.
Yeah, my parents give me that whole "you never did grow up in the end" thing too, and then I think it's the one point that they don't bring it up, because they know it's uncomfortable for them. Like, he never grew out of the cartoons and the comic books and the video games, and that's not what an adult is. But other than that, it's just,
nevertheless,
I find it hilarious, honestly.
They don't know. It's so that kind of pretty much wraps up the news. Like I said, very light news. There wasn't a huge amount this week. So that kind of moves into kind of our feature topic, but also another little bit of news this week was this ties into some reports that came out. So the investment bank UBS put out a thing saying that they've been asked over 2,000 customers in the US above the ages of 18 between April and May, and they found that 43% of people they asked were interested in Disney Plus, and they said that is very much higher than Disney were expecting, and they are definitely looking at it going, if they've already managed to do that within this like little small crowd, that's definitely one interesting thing. But also this past week, one of Disney's executives, Joe Early, was at the ProMax conference in Los Angeles earlier this month, and he was talking about the marketing plans for Disney Plus. And There's a few things that kind of came out from there that I thought was quite interesting. I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more detail. He said there's obviously going to be a big campaign. There's going to be an unprecedented campaign. The Disney name is so powerful, and all of its content is either PG-13, TV-14, or below. There's nothing M or nothing R. A lot of people will assume this is for parents with kids. And this seems to be the constant thing. Again, very clear message of TV-14, which I'm very happy about, because that really opens up the slate of television shows and allows them a little bit more freedom, I think, for that. But he went on to say, they're trying to get the message across that they want consumers to know that this isn't an app for kids. And adding things like The Simpsons and adding things like The Mandalorian, we'll see our featured in our campaigns, because there's a clear signifier to consumers that it's not this type of app. I think they're very much aware of the idea that they don't want Disney Plus to feel like just a Disney Channel cartoon app. They want it. And it ties into the way they've been announcing TV shows and movies. You know, the Disney Channel put out all these new shows at that France Animation Festival last week. They've been very shy of seeming to be like going, this cartoon's coming to Disney Plus. They've been very much like, no, there's I don't know, you know what I mean with this one? They've been very kind of coy about pushing it towards kids.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that has to do with them knowing that it's the parents who spend the money, and they need to pitch it on two levels. Well, more than two, but two core levels, which is there's stuff here for your kids. So spend money, give us money, because we can keep your kid entertained. But since it is the parent spending the money, they're hitting very hard on there's stuff for you too. Because right now you can have an Amazon Prime subscription, or you can have a Netflix subscription, and you can say, this is for me, the adult, the parent, but there's this content I can put in front of my kid, which Disney has to look at and go, well, we have the better content. We're Disney, but you're still convincing the parent to give up one thing or spend more money simply for having the access to the Disney shows for their kid. But doing it this way, they're spending money for both them and the kids, all of which is just a convoluted way of saying they want to make sure that parents will look at this as an investment for themselves.
Yeah, and I also think as well they're trying to also push the idea that it's not even just for people that have got kids in the house. You know, they are. I think in generally, maybe the 20s to 40s bracket, we're a lot more happier watching animation. We're a lot more happier with, more convinced of watching television. I think the older you get, the Disney brand has a different meaning. It's like our parents have a view, and I've got colleagues that I work with, that are just a few years older than me, and they have a very different view of, and friends, that Disney, oh, that's for kids. The term Disney completely just turns them to, oh, no, I don't do that. That's for kids. Like the people that kind of sneer at you when they say you go to Disneyland or Disney World and go, well, that's for kids, isn't it? That mindset of, it's a lot changed now, but there is still that mindset that Disney is just a kids app full of kids stuff. It's not for me. Not for me to, not for, I only watch Star Wars stuff, or, is Star Wars owned by Disney? That kind of thing. And I think The Mandalorian is going to be one of the key selling points. They're going to be pushing that as an advertising. And they are definitely going to be pushing that. They've also said they're going to be pushing High School Musical. There'll also be another layer of marketing for the back catalogue. There's also going to be another layer of marketing for Noel when that one comes along a little bit later. But I think in some ways they will need to put that, like, The Mandalorian is on Disney Plus, but they can't follow it straight away with a clip then of High School Musical, the musical. They need to keep them separate because they want to get it out there. But I think they're very much aware that they don't want to be saying that it is for kids. They don't want people going. And I think National Geographic is going to play a key role in pushing that because at the minute, even now, like they put out these announcements, nothing, they've pushed out all these announcements like for Shark or all these different events coming up in the coming weeks and months ahead. There's still no mention of things coming to Disney Plus. They're not doing that yet. And I think that makes sense because it's just going to confuse people of, well, it's on Disney Plus. Oh, it's not available. So it makes sense for them to hold off. But I think National Geographic is going to be the way of getting that adult content, the adult people going, oh, there's a show by Gordon Ramsay on here. There's a, that's what's going to work for them. But it's an uphill struggle for Disney to get past that. Whereas other companies may be coming in. I think Apple are going in the opposite direction. They're really struggling now with the idea of what they wanted to put out as a premium service. Disney have completely just undercut them, and Apple apparently are now trying to work out a strategy for pricing, because they priced everything at like $10 a month, and people are going, I don't think you're going to get $10 a month because you're not offering anything near what everybody else is offering them for a much higher rate. Even you mentioned Amazon there. Apparently Amazon are pulling back on animation. They're pulling back on cartoons. They might be buying stuff in, but they've been cutting back on their kids programming, because it's essentially, I think they realize that kids will watch it, but it's not bringing in subscribers. And yeah, I think they're all moving around, reshuffling. I think because, animation and kids TV show cost money. Disney have got it built in. They've got the television networks for still producing things. They've got the merchandise line. They've got the theme parks. They are naturally suited to be that kind of key home. And I think, they're all realizing now that they need to play to their strengths rather than trying to do the one thing for everybody.
Yeah. And well, Amazon, of course, is also in a different boat entirely, because, I don't think most people subscribe to Amazon Prime for the videos. You normally subscribe to Prime for the other benefits, namely 2-day shipping, at least here in the States. And yeah, so it's a different situation, but I can also totally understand why Amazon would be like, no, we don't want to spend money on producing original kids content, because it's definitely not the kids making the decision on whether or not they're going to get Amazon Prime. But yeah, getting back on the Nat Geo, National Geographics, I think it's not just that they're going to have, Gordon Ramsay and The Right Stuff and all this adult content. It's also that when you think of National Geographics, you think, oh, I do not mind having my kids sitting in front of a National Geographic documentary. That it's educational and entertaining at the same time. So yeah, National Geographics is a great selling point, which, as you mentioned, they haven't hammered yet. And I would expect as we get October, that's when they'll start really kind of pushing National Geographics as a major pillar of the Disney Plus program.
It's like recently there was the Hot Zone about like the Ebola virus. That was a drama series. And we had like Valley of the Boom, which is about Silicon Valley. Whoa. And there's a few other ones that they're working on. And, that kind of thing is like, that's high-end TV 14 drama, which is an adult orientated, but it would be a big thing. You're going, oh, these are here for you as well.
And I think not just those, but the success of Chernobyl here in the last couple of weeks on HBO, I think will have turned some heads in the, we can do some like mostly accurate historical dramas, and people will watch them as long as they're well produced. And I've heard nothing but good things about Chernobyl. I've got all 5 of the episodes recorded on my DVR. I probably will watch them this week now that the series is done. But
I will be honest, probably one of the best TV series I could say in a few years. I love that show. It was easily one of the best stuff I've watched, and everybody I've talked to, I've been telling pretty much everyone to watch this series, because 5 episodes made fantastically, really, really strong. Yeah, and that's the kind of content that adults, and this is the thing as well of like adults will tell each other, and word of mouth is going to be that big thing. Things like The Mandalorian, where they're going, oh yeah, get Disney Plus and it's on there, and you're going to get these Marvel TV shows. But it's funny because like National Geographic at the minute is one of those things of, I know myself, I'll put out a story on a show or a video or something like that. National Geographic will always underperform compared to anything else, because it's still like, I think especially like with Disney fans, it's still maybe not quite considered in the same zone. But I think once we start seeing it on there, we'll really start seeing a little bit more about it.
Yeah, again, as we get to November, we'll see more and more about it. But I'll be interested to see if Disney or Netflix or any of these guys really take a look at Chernobyl, and I mean, it's high production, so it's not going to be something that you turn around really quickly. But if, you know, in the 2020 or the 2021 lineup, we start to see a couple more historical dramas creeping up on the playbills for a lot of these companies.
And I think as well, of like Discovery are obviously launching their own streaming platform, and they've got the BBC stuff in there with them. Netflix have done a few, but I think they're finding that again, they are looking purely at cost versus interest in subscribers. Documentaries like that, you know, Our Planet, or which they did recently, they're expensive, and will they pull it in? Whereas National Geographic is a whole other core element to Disney Plus, which I think will appeal to adults, and they're going to have to get that out there. And it'll be definitely a push towards going, oh yeah, that's on there. Or oh yeah, watch this, or you know, there's a an animal documentary and things like this. That is, but it's going to take time for them to get that over. And obviously as well, with National Geographic only becoming part of Disney literally like 2 months ago, it's still all brand new and fresh, and they haven't really made all those connections up.
And we wouldn't expect them to. So,
but I love it's just that idea really of like even Disney are, you know, the marketing team are very much aware that they want to get that right out the bat from day one, that it's not just for kids, it's not just a Disney Channel plus Star Wars kind of thing. They want to get it out there that it's much more than that. And I think the way that they've been announcing stuff, they've been, I mean, they've just been very coy about announcing animation and kids stuff as a whole. You know, we had that Monsters Inc. and the Chip and Dale one last week. But if you think of it, that was all we've had in, you know, everything that's been announced. You know, there's a lot of drama series, things like Love, Simon, you know, Princesses of, what was it, Diary of a President, and
something like that.
Yeah, and a load of other bits and pieces. You know, we had that Dolphin documentary movie coming up, and we've got the Mandalorian and the Marvel stuff. It seems is always the most highest interest things, but they are definitely putting out the idea that they don't want it just to be seen as kids' movies.
Right. You have to target the people with the wallets, and kids don't have wallets.
No. Right. So that kind of wraps up there. But I'd love to know your thoughts on the things about, you know, whether or not you think it's just for kids. I'm just going to jump in there now and just bring up some questions. I do this kind of regular thing of filling out a question on our Facebook group. There was a lot of questions this week about, is this show on there? Is that show on there? Is this show on there? Some of them are a bit like, we just don't know. So there was one that I did think was kind of quite interesting. Is Toy Story 4 going to be on Disney Plus? Yes, it will be. But it's going to be like Netflix or anything else. Well, it will take 6 to 8 months from being out at cinemas, unless they start realizing that they want to start pushing it earlier. But anything between 6 to 8 months are going to be averaged. It will start speeding up. So in 2020, it will be on Disney Plus. It's not going to Netflix. Grant asked, will the Russo brothers be involved in the Falcon and Winter series at all? As of yet, we haven't been told, but they are. I hope they have at least a little bit of influence, because it's feeling very much like Civil War TV series without Captain America.
Yeah, I have to expect that they're at the very least consultants on it, because the characters of Winter Soldier and Falcon that we got in the movies was pretty much shaped by them. I know Falcon appeared very briefly in the first Ant-Man movie, and that's about it. So how we view them is shaped entirely by these two creators, and it would be a shame to not have them involved. Now, will they direct anything? Will they produce anything? No, I don't. I think that's very unlikely. It'd be great if they did, but I would not expect it. I think consultant will be the maximum amount of...
And also, so after they've just finished Endgame and Infinity War, they'll probably want to break. But I imagine they would be involved in the process somewhere. But at the end of the day, Marvel are running they run these characters, not these particular things. But I hope they are. Matt asked, do you think that, especially to all the competition that exists and that is coming, Disney Plus will increase its spending on exclusive originals beyond the slated plans? Netflix, for comparison, is spending about $15 billion on exclusive originals this year, while Disney Plus is spending approximately $1 billion initially and $2 billion annually going forward. So there is that thing of, this is where it's like saying Disney Plus original. and how much they're spending. Toy Story 4 is going to be a Disney Plus original, in the fact that you're not going to be able to see that anywhere else. You are only going to find that on Disney Plus. Star Wars: The Last, the Return, Rise of Skywalker, Avengers: Endgame. These are all Disney originals, and therefore they are kind of that kind of thing of like the budget. If you included all of them, suddenly then the Disney, how much they're spending on content and all the stuff they're creating for the Disney Channel, all the stuff they're creating for, because if they were Netflix, they would be cast as Netflix originals because they're made for Netflix. Now, obviously they put them out in cinemas, they put them out on television networks, but Disney are still spending a fortune on building these things.
Yeah, but I think we have to go to maybe not the word of the question, but the intent of the question, which is, will there be content specifically for Disney Plus? Meaning not stuff that's going to go to the theater first, not stuff that'll be on the Disney Channel first, but stuff that the only place you could ever watch it, at least at launch, is on Disney Plus. And the short answer, in my opinion, is yes. They're going to ramp up, but that's going to be at the expense of some of these other systems. As we've talked about plenty of times on this show, movies that aren't the big spectacle movies are going to transfer over. So that's kind of a yes. The spending isn't really increasing so much as shifting space. The longer answer is, or the more gray area answer is, it will depend on how successful Disney Plus is. If it's successful, which we expect it will be at this point, yes, they will absolutely increase because they want you to continue spending money, and that means content. And if it's not successful, or if after a year they see the subscriber numbers just drop off a cliff, probably not.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, the answer is yes.
I think Disney Plus, they will be spending more on it. I think the trouble is they're kind of like I said before, there's a real issue really with Disney of the fact that they are creating so much more content that is going to filter through onto this. That isn't maybe a Disney Plus original, but they're still creating it and they still have control over it. The problem Netflix have had is they were always reliant on everybody else making it, and they just brought it in. So therefore, they've had to ramp up production, and they've only got the one outlet to send it out on. Disney have got 4 or 5 outlets. They have got traditional television. They have got selling it on to other television channels when they finish with that. Cinema, home video, they rent out their movies. You can buy them on iTunes. Netflix have been keeping everything in for themselves because that's what they've been doing. Disney sell their content everywhere, and they want to continue to do that. So, Toy Story 4 is going to be, it will air on the BBC at Christmas in 5 years' time. It will do that because they will look at that as an extra money source. But I still look at it and go, it's like all these new TV series coming to the Disney Channel this week. That's still all a brand new original content that they own all the rights to. It's all theirs. So when it goes on the back catalogue, it's still essentially Disney-owned content. And Netflix doesn't have that outlay. So therefore, it's not, because I look at it and go, if you put all of Disney's output into Disney Plus on the idea of, well, that is a Disney show that you're not going to find on Amazon Prime or Netflix, that's it. Probably Disney are outspending Netflix. It's just, they're doing it in a different way. And it's not, I don't think it's originals. Netflix original is something that Netflix have been using because they knew this problem was coming. They've been trying to get people with the mindset of Netflix is full of original content that you can't find anywhere else, because they knew 2020 was going to be the year of everything's off of Netflix and there's going to be nothing that you recognize on there anymore, or there's going to be hardly anything left in 2 years' time. They're fighting an uphill battle where Disney are coming in at a different angle completely.
Yeah, it's an apples and oranges, almost more like I don't know, apples and
beef jerky.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to go in the other direction, something like lemons and limes, but they're different, but they're still in that same area together.
Yeah.
But yeah, without going too far off, I think just the question, yes, they're going to increase their spending. It would take a massive failure for Disney Plus for them to not increase the spending.
Yeah, but it's also, like I said, it's that kind of weird thing, really, of when you've got a new television show that they've just spent millions on making, they've still got an existing television channel like the National Geographic or the Disney Channel, etc., ABC, where they're still making money there. Viewing figures are down, but they're still making money on there. So by sharing it across their platforms, they're actually making more money because they're getting us that aren't watching ABC, we're paying for it, but also they're getting it back sideways. Netflix is in that position where they are making, what Sabrina the TV, the Chilling Adventures. They've got no other way of getting that to make money at the minute. You've got so many more ways of making money with Toy Story 4 than, I don't know, like Netflix. Let's say, for example, that Netflix movie with Adam Sandler that I talked about earlier. At the minute, yeah, you can only see it on Netflix, so you subscribe there. But Disney are going, well, actually, we can make money in loads of different ways. And, ultimately, at the minute, you can tell with the box office, Disney do seem to be doing very well for that. Whereas Netflix are technically running at a loss every year on year.
Yeah, them and Amazon for that matter. At least if you don't include Amazon Web Services, which is a completely different division. Yeah. But I think we've kind of hammered this one in the ground. So
I'm just having a quick look here at some of the other questions. Will any of the Muppet TV shows be available? We know the Muppet movies.
Babies.
Now, the Muppet movie has been confirmed. I think one of the classic ones. I suspect they'll all be on there. Basically, if they've got rights to it, it's going to be on there. There's lots of other ones on here, but it's going to be a little bit difficult to know. Like Disney Channel original movies, yes. Anything like that, we'll find out. At the end of the day, they can't put out a massive list of everything that's going to be on there yet. I'm hoping around October, November time, they may update their website with a massive just collage of just information, because at the minute, all these questions, I think the general thing is, if it's owned by Disney and if it's got a Disney in the logo of the show, then it's gonna probably be there. But nevertheless, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of all of this week's news. Go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can like our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter, and also you can subscribe on the audio platforms, and you can join our Facebook group. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I'll be back next week with the next 2 weeks' episodes are going to be slightly different. James have done a couple of segments where we're going to be talking about stuff, but I'll be just kind of running through the news and some of the bits and pieces. But we have already got episodes lined up while James is off gallivanting.
I'd be in your neck of the woods, honestly. So
over here in Europe. But on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon. Later.